Well, Happy New Year from the Necroparlor. I thought this would be a perfect time to update you on my new workshop space. Yes, even though I just posted a workshop update a couple videos ago, I almost immediately was able to rent a garage and move the entire operation into one room. It's been a tough few months, but I'm so happy and incredibly humbled to announce that the rent I'm paying for this garage space is 100% funded by you. That's right, my YouTube channel is officially making enough money for me to start sustaining my ever-growing hobby. So right out the bat, thank you for following me on my journey to turn this hobby into something I can live off of. And don't forget to subscribe. Starting with the workbench, you can see a tub of finished bones that are ready to go in the degreaser. But what you're probably more excited about are the large batches of diaphanized specimens. These two big jars are completely finished. I just need to divide them up into their own individual jars. Look closely and you can see rats, snakes, frogs, and more. This larger tub is where I keep my dry chemicals like potassium hydroxide and trypsin enzymes. You can see my scale, some glassware, bottles, and other standard lab pieces. I've hung my procedures on the wall, and I got myself a calendar. This power strip is handy for all the smaller electronics, including this little burner when I need to cook up my saturated solution of sodium tetraborate. This pot is frozen right now, but you get the idea. I learned the hard way that this garage has electricity limitations, and I cannot turn this burner on while my other heating elements are on. Under the workbench I have all of my wet specimens. All these buckets and jars are holding wet specimens in various stages of completion, except that blue jar. That's my wastewater jar. The workshop doesn't have a drain, so I collect it and dump it all later. On the left side I store my wet chemicals, like the water jug and all of my fresh alcohol. I'm still brainstorming this shelf, but for now I have insulated this space as best I could to keep the chemicals from freezing. This tube you see intertwined with everything in this cabinet pumps hot water. I'll need to put the pump on a thermostat to maintain moderate temperatures, but for now it will prevent freezing in a pinch. And where is this hot water pumped from in a garage with no drains or plumbing, you ask? Well, I'm so glad you're thinking it because it comes from right here, my degreasing tank. This thing is a vast improvement over my last setup and easily has 4 to 5 times the capacity. You can see that every bucket is filled with fine mesh bags filled with skulls and other bones, leaching the deep-seated grease, oils, and fats into the soapy water. That is what ensures that every skull I sell will not turn yellow and gross 5 years down the road. The thermostat is down here. Let me unplug it while I show you the setup so my heater doesn't short out and fry. This bucket is actually full of large holes, and attached to the thermostat I have this 1500 watt heater. If you can see in the shadows under the heater, I also have a pump. When the water gets too cold, it kicks the 1500 watt heater on, and the pump evenly distributes the hot water throughout the entire tank. This and the absurd amount of insulation I've packed this thing with ensures the water maintains a very toasty 115 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the optimal temperature for melting and extracting oils without reaching the danger zone of bone-damaging temperatures. If you'd like to see a more detailed video about degreasing, please let me know. I realize that my videos have become much more niche, so even if 3 fans out there want to see it, I'll probably do it. Even in these freezing temperatures, the degreaser hasn't fallen by more than a degree or 2. I am having one problem though, and that is these buckets have been cracking. I'm guessing due to the extreme temperatures. The degreaser is not running at full capacity because I keep finding cracked buckets. I'll have to find a stronger brand as I've already lost about half of them. To continue the tour, we've come to my first storage rack. Here, within convenient reach, is my PPE station. I have a lab coat, box of gloves, my respirator and goggles, N95 particle masks, puppy pads, etc. The shelf above that is where I keep my merchandise, including this recent bestseller added to my store. I love this shirt. I also made it into a sticker. Here's the banner I had made. Bags. Basically anything merchandisey. Easy access for when they sell on Etsy, but also conveniently boxed up for me when I need to take them to a convention. The rest of the PPE shelf is booth supplies. My cash box, tablecloths, acrylic stands, rotating displays, basically everything that makes my booth look good. Next shelf down has some extra glassware for the lab bench, used specimen jars, flasks, and beakers. Everything else on these last two levels are finished products. Here we have a beaver wet specimen, but these are all full of specimens I need to place up for sale on my website. Except for this Smirnoff box. It's not full of Smirnoff, but it is Everclear, a cheap alternative to a lab-grade chemical. It's 95% ethyl alcohol for those out there trying to diaphanize things at home. Next is the non-lab workbench. This is where a lot of the magic happens, whether it's placing teeth back into skulls, assembling these old snake skeletons, etc. Right now I'm finishing a customer commission of this chameleon skeleton. Scroll through my videos and you can find a time-lapse of this chameleon being defleshed by beetles on this stick. What a cool little lizard. Took longer than anticipated to degrease, but I think the owner will be pleased with the end result. And here's my chair, which I can use to slide around to different workbenches. Under the workbench there's more storage. Right now it's mostly unfinished specimens and large chemicals. And even more so on the ground. The next storage shelf starts at the top with unfinished projects. This box is full of disarticulated skeletons and skulls, and you can see the remains of a large sulcata tortoise I'll get to one day. Below that is a shelf of framing supplies. You can see large clock domes on the right. I have extra boothing supplies scattered around. For example, this is where I keep my wagon. This is very useful for carrying loads of heavy boxes full of wet specimens from my car to the booth when I set it up. Behind this shelf, in my tiny walkway, I have my art display easels that I built. If you've seen me at the expos, then you know what I'm talking about. I have my own folding table in case they're not provided or I need a spare. And if you can see behind that in the dark, I have the modular shelves that hang on the easel. On the other side of this shelf, I have all of my brand new specimen jars. I bulk order jars from Carolina Biological Supply, and I try to keep a good stock of every size and shape they have. Just as I am always getting surprise animals of every size and shape, I need to be prepared to put them in a jar. And now for the part you've all been waiting for. I've added a few upgrades to my freezer since you've seen it last. The first of which is a lock and key. Now that my workshop is external to my home, I've been trying to keep everything locked up. Are you ready for these new beetles? Ta-da! Can you hear that? The sound of thousands of beetles rustling around. Within the freezer I have 3 colonies. The newest and largest one that takes up most of the space, and the 2 smaller ones I have isolated in this aquarium. None of the beetles can escape or get into either of the other 2 colonies, as I observe them all separately to ensure their health. The little jar is the remaining survivors of my old colony, and the big jar was donated to me by my friend Mothybones on Instagram. That colony was featured in last month's video. These two smaller colonies are feeding on mink skulls for now, but the vast majority have been going through coyote skulls like it was their job or something. Here are my thermostat and humidistat readings in case you're curious. I think this is also the first introduction to my new freezer. This thing has quadrupled my capacity to hold on to dead animals. This one came with a lock, which is super awesome. And as you can see, it's actually pretty full already. Kitten fetuses, rats. What's in this bag? Oh right, a batch of fresh kittens. Forgot I just got those. I have some more animal heads prepped to throw in the beetles when they're ready. In case you haven't seen it already, be sure to check out my new Instagram channel. I still have my old one, but I really needed a refined virtual gallery space to showcase all of my finished products, past, present, and future. Plus, I've been told by several people that they like my work, but they can never follow me on Instagram because they don't like the graphic nature of the things that I post. I totally understand and respect that, so this new account can serve multiple purposes. Recently, a friend of mine dropped out of the hobby and donated the entire contents of her freezer to me. So this thing filled up fast. But there's large things in here like an entire badger, a whole coyote, some bagged up hides, etc. I could dig in here forever and you'd never see it all. For now, I'm going to pull out these coyote and mink skulls to hold the beetles over. I was absolutely touched by the outpouring of sympathy and support after the loss of my beetle colony. I was ready to bite the bullet and start over from scratch, but I had enough fans reach out to me offering to help that I made a small GoFundMe for those people to have a place to donate. After the seller Talias Beetle Bugs heard of my plight, she decided to help out with a generous discount. To be clear, this is not a paid advertisement for Talias Beetle Bugs. I am just throwing her name out there because she really does provide an excellent service. Her domestids are packed efficiently, they come with a hefty care sheet, and she genuinely cares about her customers. Domestic suppliers are constantly coming and going, but if you ever want to do what I do, I strongly suggest Talias Beetle Bugs first. With her discount, the GoFundMe covered more than half the cost for the replacement colony, so I covered the rest and got these beetles here as fast as I could before it started to freeze outside. But this raccoon is completely done. I'll leave it on this shelf so the beetles can vacate it. As I'm placing the new coyote popsicle, my thermostat alarm goes off. This means that I left the lid open too long in this freezing Utah winter weather we're having out here, so the temperature inside the freezer is reaching the danger zone. I quickly finish what I'm doing and close the lid. I silence the alarm and closely monitor to make sure that the temperature starts to rise again. I delayed making this workshop video for a while, mostly because it took forever for me to build it up and move everything in here by myself. Then I had to clean it up and make it filming worthy, but there's still so much to do around here. First, I'd like to get this workbench refinished, or at least nail down an acrylic sheet to cover this old nasty surface. It'll keep my glassware cleaner, and then I won't have to worry about chemical spills on this wood. Also, I mentioned insulating this space earlier. I shoved some spare pieces down here, but I'd really like to make an entire insulated cabinet space. One place I have improved is the duct I added to the domesticarium. Whereas before it was just a screened fan blowing stinky air into the workshop, now I have actually vented it outside the wall, making the entire place much better smelling. It's not perfect though. I'm probably going to have to put the fan on a timer instead of linked to the humidistat. Just add that to my checklist. This is my mummification shelf. This bin is full of drying agents, sucking the moisture out of specimens. These reusable color-changing silica beads have been instrumental in my success for mummifying specimens. One shelf up, I have some extra degreasers. These use a separate chemical that does not need to be heated up, and is great for doing small bones like all the rats and mice that are currently in there. That white box there is my light box for taking Instagram pictures, and the rest of the shelf is just miscellaneous crap. On the top shelves though, I have piled spare empty boxes and packaging material. While future finished product may need more boxes to be stored in, I also keep a ton on hand to ship items that sell on my website. It may seem excessive, but hey, I've never paid for a box to ship something. This is my calendar and general to-do list. Imperative when I have multiple time-sensitive reactions going on at the same time. Hell. This is me realizing I need to make a chemical change, like right now. Okay, now this fish is in a new enzyme bath. I don't normally do one specimen at a time, but this fish is taking a lot longer at every step than everything else in the batch it started in, so it kind of fell behind. Time to clean up, put the scale away, close everything, gather up the used glassware, etc. When all this is done, I can finally sit down and work on some projects or commissions. Like this commissioned chameleon. As I pull out the sticker, I just wanted to reiterate that Natalie from Talias Beetle Bugs is amazing. I will always point people her direction, and this sticker will have a prominent place on my sticker wall. I've become something of a sticker junkie recently, and I've been collecting all of your art. I have Skinny Boy arts here. I did a sticker exchange with the local reptile breeder, Arch Reptiles. Thank you guys. I have some beautiful pieces from Mallory Hart Art. I represent some organizations like the Northern California Herpetological Society, where I once did a presentation of my domestic beetles. I know I'm missing a few here, like my stickers from Skulls for All Mortal Carvings, New England Obscura, to name a few. I was thinking right here on my brand new freezer. Hopefully this thing lasts forever. And if it doesn't, it'll become my new domesticarium. In the meantime, let the work begin here in my new home away from home. Well, it isn't that much. The shelves are packed and stacked high. My freezers almost intersect, and there's barely enough room for me to stand most of the time. But it's mine. I'm so happy to finally have a place where I can put everything. My wife loves that my projects are not just sprawled throughout the entire house. There are huge pros, like having a dedicated work day where I can come in and punch out a task list instead of passively doing projects while I'm at home all the time. May not sound like a big deal to you, but for those with ADD, know very well that a task just lying there to be done could be worked on all night long. Fitting these projects into a work day has done wonders for me.